Well, Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. returns for its second episode, and one that I said would probably really tell us the most about how this series is going to go. We had the pilot episode, which I actually was called the pilot, which I think means this was the actual pilot. Now, for those of you that don't know what pilots are, the test episode that they normally do, the network will give money for them to make a pilot, and basically the description from Pulp Fiction works pretty well. Based on that episode, they'll give it the A or the nay. They spent so much money on this, and there was so much hype around it as soon as they announced it, that this basically was the pilot was a formality, so they basically really did continue. But yeah, there was probably at least some space between when they actually had the real pilot, when they did this pilot, and continued on. Normally, the pilot is unaired because they'll make changes. The studios go like, I like 90% of it, but there's 10% of the stuff we want to change. We want a different actor. We want something else. So it is hard to judge. That's why you ever notice like the first episode is always so different from how the rest of the series goes, and that kind of goes to how they work out the kinks in that pilot. They'll figure out stuff. Here, though, it's a very clear transition. In fact, it's a somewhat of a two-parter, I guess, to the first part, because it follows directly the events of the first episode. Of course, this episode being called 084, which is a reference to what S.H.I.E.L.D. calls whenever they find something that they don't know but it might be dangerous, an item. So they get dispatched. And one thing you'll pick up is this one's probably much more reference heavy. They really laid in the references to the rest of the Marvel Universe a lot more. I mean, they reference Stark again. When they bring on the hacker girl, he goes, well, she's not an agent, but we'll consider her a consultant. Stark's technically a consultant. A little hit, and actually I'll give them credit. When they lay out the references, at least to me, maybe other people will disagree with this, but at least to me, they felt natural to given the universe and given the conversations, they felt natural. So trying to figure out what the new character would be. She's not officially part of S.H.I.E.L.D. We've already established that S.H.I.E.L.D. has consultants. We'll do her, and we'll say, hey, yeah, like Tony Stark. Yeah, technically that guy's a consultant, so... So anyway, I probably should just talk about the... we'll lay out the little references they have in there. One, the code name for the plane is S.H.I.E.L.D. 616. For those of you that don't know, in the Marvel Universe, they started to number their universes. Because it's weird. Because of all the weird stuff they do in Marvel, there's actually multiple universes. They have alternate realities. And that's how they're able to get away with, like, they have an ultimate universe. Not alternate, ultimate. You'll see, like, they have the ultimate line. That takes place, according to Marvel, in its own alternate reality from the main one. And in some universe, they actually numbered them. And the main Marvel universe is numbered Marvel, or is labeled Universe 616. I forget the movies and this TV show. I forget which one that they take place in, but they also have a number now assigned to them. So anyway, nice, and that's a nice little subtle reference because it's like it works. The next one, Coulson, he talks about how he got stabbed, and he kind of that whole situation with in what happened in the Avengers, and they again lay on this line, and somebody called this, and there's something they're definitely going with this. I think that in the first episode he said, Tahiti, it's a magical place, and the way that he said it again this time, and the way they kind of lingered on it a bit, you're like, there's something up with that. Something's not there. He you weren't just healed. You had something happen there. So there's obviously something up. It wasn't just he was stabbed and he got healed and this used to cover the Avengers. Something's up there, and it's something about Tahiti. It's a magic place, so I'm guessing there's something with magic involved. Maybe it did happen in Tahiti. Would not be shocked. We'll see what happens. Probably season finale. I'm guessing they're going to actually address that. Maybe. Or maybe they're going to wait till right before the next Avengers movie. Who knows? Probably right before whatever Coulson, if he shows back up in any of the other movies outside of Guardians of the Galaxy, because they don't really care. Probably. They'll probably address it, I'm guessing. And then, of course, what was the other line? Oh yes, they also label what is an 084, and based on their description, one of the characters goes, "Well, when was the last one?" He goes, It's like, "Oh, well, what was the last one you found?" And he goes, "Oh, it was a hammer," referencing Thor. And based on what he gave before, it made perfect sense. So, plenty of little references, and of course they end it with like very last scene. Actually, kind of cuts, and you think that's probably if it comes, cuts the commercial at the very end, and you think it's going for. They basically have taken those stingers that they put in the movies, and are now putting them in the series, which is it fits actually, because it keeps that kind of same tone overall. But so they cut, and what normally you'd come back after like 2 commercials to the credits. It's a quick little scene, and it's a scene with Samuel L. Jackson basically ripping out Coulson for basically kind of wrecking the plane. If you want to know what the actual plot of this one is, well, yeah, we'll talk about it. It is they go down to check out this OA4. It's discovered in a mine dig site. They go in there and they discover it's interesting device that's using Tesseract technology, technology from the Tesseract. They think possibly it's an alien device and such. As they're investigating it, first the Peruvian National Police show up, and then turns out their commandant, Coulson and her had a thing together way back. And then rebels show up, and they all have to flee and try to get out of there, and they manage to all make it back to the plane and fly out with the device, which they find out is, highly unstable. And lo and behold, it turns out that the Peruvian National Police, and this part this part is fine, that what the Peruvian National Police were there for is they actually want to get this device and destroy it. Or not destroy it, they want to get this device because back in like the late 40s, 50s, Hydra scientists that fled Germany, Europe, after the war came to Peru, and they used some of the leftover technology to try to develop weapons for the government there, including this device which got lost. Basically, it's kind of implied that it kind of melted itself into the rock. And here's where it loses me, because if their primary mission was to cover up that the Peruvian government had made basically doing the Odessa file with Hydra, which really they should have done. If they were going to do this, they probably should have set this in either Bolivia or Argentina, or even Chile. I don't think Peru was as known as being a safe haven for Nazis. I could be wrong, correct me if I am, but I think it was much more Argentina, Chile, maybe possibly Bolivia. I forget. But definitely Argentina. They could have easily, maybe, I don't know, maybe somebody on the production crew is Argentinian, so he's like, no, to be Peruvians. people. We do care. No one cares about Peru. We do them. I don't know. I don't know what the background was. Why it had to be Peru. But yeah, what they wanted, instead of this wanting it to destroy it and cover up the government's involvement with it, because they even kind of say it's using Tesseract technology, but with looks like German engineering. Instead, they want this weapon in order to use it against the rebels, which are rebelling because of mining issues in the region. How are you going to use this thing? Because at first it looks like it's so unstable it could blow up. Are you going to use it as a giant bomb? Because I'm pretty sure the rest of the world is going to kind of freak out when you start using a weapon of mass destruction to destroy a region of your own country, which would probably destroy the mining in that area too, by the way. Or it's later kind of proven it can shoot a bit of a laser. Like, how is that going to help you with the rebels? You already have guns. Like, how are you going to use that against an insurgency? Because it looks like, based on what we see, that it's just like an insurgency type. It's not like it's a full-blown war. Do you have a way of replicating this thing? Probably not. So all you basically have is this big fucking laser. How are you going to apply this against insurgents? Yeah, I could see you could shoot them with it, but you already have guns. You gonna put it on a helicopter? Buy some missiles. I mean, it's... You know S.H.I.E.L.D's gonna want it, and as soon as you go around starting to use this thing in combat, they're gonna be like, Peru, where the fuck did you get this laser weapon? Kind of see the problem there? Is it's probably not worth it, because then you gotta reveal that you've got technology, which I'm guessing at this point in the show they're kind of implying that S.H.I.E.L.D. has been given this kind of ultra national authority to protect Earth from basically bigger threats, and it's like that should have been reported to us. You're using alien technology. That's you know, it's not like American China or Russia or someone that could basically give the middle finger to the international community. It's Peru, and if you're Peruvian, I do apologize, but you know your country's standing. You can't give the finger to the international community and not have it have a lot of repercussions, right? It's not like one where like basically the rest of the world will go like, we'll make an exception for you. You can do it. We're just displeased with you, sir. Like even the U.S., China, Russia, the big boys, let's face it, they get away with stuff that other countries can't. I say that as an American. We'll admit it. At least I will. But you're Peru. So how is this going to help you? I don't see how it would help you on a tactical level. Because, you know, rebels are kind of, we pop out of the woods, we shoot at you, and if you don't run away, we run back into the woods. I don't see the laser weapon really turning the tide. It's not like they have tanks and you can now have a portable anti-tank gun, right? That's not going to help you here. It's a light infantry battle. In fact, probably buying more armored vehicles would be more helpful than having a laser weapon, which could then in turn fall into the hands of the rebels, and then they would have a laser weapon to destroy your armored vehicles. That's a problem. Or shoot down your planes, which the rebels don't have planes. If the rebels had planes, even then the laser I could see being useful. If anything, they probably should have turned this around. Now that would have been scripting issues, because then they're calling... Never mind. I was about to say, well, maybe they should have made it that the rebels were the ones that got on the plane, but I'm pretty sure Peru would take offense to them kind of implying that the government's just douches. Although they kind of already do. Actually, that would have been, now that I think about it, that would have been a better plot. But I digress. So they do that. They get on the plane. Of course, rebels, the Peruvians turn on them, take it over. But of course, the team eventually gets together and kicks them out by blowing a hole in the plane and having a couple of them shoot off. Um, so that's that. Character-wise, not a whole lot. A couple little big things. The specialist guy, he's supposed to be Mr. Action. I'm just not buying him as this role. I think, and I hate to say this, but for the character that's written, they don't have the right actor. Maybe as time progresses and they see this actor's strengths, this is one of the things you can do as a series that you're kind of not at. That movies don't have the chance of, but that you can make an act. You can start writing a character to the actor's strengths, and I think the way they have it written right now is they wanted a more, you know, I don't know, Jeremy Renner type. Jeremy Renner I could buy in this type of role. That's exactly, of course, what they're going for, because this guy's supposed to be Jeremy Renner, and what's her face is supposed to be basically a Black Widow equivalent. But yeah, so hopefully with a little time they'll rewrite the character a bit to hopefully play this character better. But the actor is just not right for the role as written. Again, I think over time the writers can write now more specifically for the actor, because he's not a big name. They really didn't get too many big names, so it's not like they, as you're writing, you're like, oh, we're writing this, but we want so and so to play it. Like, they knew who Coulson was going to be. You can see the writing is very strong with Coulson because it's an the actor is established in the role. They know how to write that guy. They know what to write for that actor that he'll play well in. Sorry, as I readjust. With that being said, other character, of course, our hacker character. I don't know. I know I'm not using names. I just know them as specialist guy, commando guy, kung fu chick, two scientist people. Coulson. Coulson's the only one that gets a name. At the end of the episode, it's revealed that she is still associated with the Rising Tide group. Yeah, I guess she's trying to do a double agent thing. And I can guarantee you, I am laying out how this goes. She's with the Rising Tide. They're gonna play this probably for a while. And at the end, it turns out the Rising Tide was not what you thought it was. Probably a cover for another group, or they just have the worst of intentions. They have bad intentions, and she kind of course, she has a thing about how 100 people working together with 1% of the whole internet BS stuff, and maybe they'll have that if the writers are smart, and Josh Whedon is rather smart, might wind up throwing all this stuff back in to go, exactly, you only knew 1% of what's going on, and these guys were able to use that. They used you because you're not out there trying to figure out what's going. You're happy having your 1%. And not realizing how it can be used with everybody else. How it can, you can be manipulated because you're comfortable with only knowing that, not knowing the whole picture. Something along those lines. Maybe throwing her own spiel back at her. So we will see how that goes. But yeah, guarantee you the Rising Tide group, because that even sounds villainous, will turn out to be not what she thinks, and in some way she's going to cause some issue. And of course the drama, and I do think the weakest part of the series right now is the tensions among the cast, and this is really lazy writing. Instead of back in the day, they wouldn't actually articulate clearly. It's like, I'm a specialist, I'm supposed to be by myself, and like basically laying out exactly what the character is supposed to be. You're supposed to use subtlety, and the fans know. It is just bad writing now in Hollywood. They feel they have to actually say that. It's not cute. and it just ruins the character. It's not natural speak. It's bad. They need to stop doing that, and they need to stop with the infighting within the group. Like A Team had issues, but it was part of their play. Yeah, they had fun with it. Of course they were at each other's throats occasionally, but for the most part they were a team. You know, that's an example of writing a group of various guys. Each had their own personalities, but at the same time they work together. And when stuff's going on, they occasionally will have tensions, but overall they work together fine. So that's how it goes. Next week, of course, we have Asset, which I did not see a preview for this one. It might have popped in. I of course go to the bathroom after the episode was over, so maybe I missed it. But obviously that's going to be referring to Hacker Girl. That's her name. I wonder if the plane will be up and running by that time. We'll find out. Nice that they had Samuel L. Jackson show up for the cameo. I'm curious if we'll have any more cameos. Again, there are ways to do that. I think there was also, you heard on the radio, there was Miranda Hill, and I'm kind of wondering, the way you can do one of these cameos sometimes is you can stretch it. I think I talked about this last week, is you basically just have somebody shoot like they're 10 minutes worth, and you chop that up into like, okay, 2-minute scene, 3-minute scene, 2-minute scene, 3-minute scene. Boom, you have now cameo in 4 episodes, but your character now has more of a presence. Kind of wonder if they did that with a few of these, and if we'll be seeing anybody else, because I was not expecting Samuel L. Jackson to show up. So it'll be very, very interesting. I would not be surprised if Thor or somebody else from that shows up when it comes closer to next month, when of course Dark of the World comes out. Was it Dark of the World? The Dark World, whatever. The next Thor 2, when Thor 2 comes out. If he makes an appearance, or at the very least if they start to borrow a few of the props, like maybe some of the Dark Elf outfits, and they kind of it turns out there's still rumors of 1 or 2 Dark Elves running around in London. We better go chase them down. Or that's still going to be the interesting thing to see, how that'll interact with such. But it'll be interesting to see who might make a cameo appearance. Might Robert Downey pop in one day? Might we see Chris Evans run across the team? Maybe some more of the minor characters from the shows, like God, what's her face that played Pepper Potts? Have her show up one of these days, and this will be like, oh yeah, it's Pepper Potts. It's possible. Iron Patriot, there you go. You could have Don Cheadle come in with a little cameo. Just, doesn't have to be dressed up as the Iron Patriot. They can be running in D.C. He could be, go having a conference talk with War Machine there. Yeah, I also am curious if they'll have maybe some of the old organizations show up. Will they have AIM involved at any point? Or more importantly, I think more interestingly, what about the Ten Rings? The terror group. Like maybe they're still operating out there in the Middle East. You run across them one of these days, or reforming Ten Rings or something along those lines. It's possible, but again, all speculation. Overall, I liked the episode. I think it did keep a very good tone. Special effects levels were still surprisingly high for the series. Normally you have the really good special effects in premiere episode and in the end, like the season finale. Here they're still maintaining a very high, and if they continue to keep the ratings they're getting, they'll probably continue that edge, because it's a very highly watched show now. I think they were even ABC was somewhat surprised how many people were watching this, and as long as they continue it as a decent writing, and we'll see if some of the more annoying aspects that I mentioned continue and might get on people's nerves, or if, like I said with time, about And what I mean by with time, it's going to be about the halfway point of the season is when they can start doing. Again, I don't know this for sure, but normally there's a bit of a break between the season's first half and second half. And if there was a shooting break long enough for them to get at least some feedback from the overall audience on how they like the characters, the writers can do at least some adjustments. If not, we kind of have to wait till season 2. Ugh. Anyway, I've gone on long enough. So, stay tuned for this weekend. I will probably do a review on The Legend of Korra, and I think Gravity's out this week, and I will probably go see Gravity, and you will most likely see a review of that. And I know I never got around to that Counter Monkey review, but what are you gonna do? So please like, subscribe, yada 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 yada. Sayonara.